Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox, and anytime we're talking tennis or golf or the ponies, we got to bring in our guy from FanDuel TV, Andrew Dubbsie Anderson. How are we doing, Dubbs?
Is that what I am, Mox? Am I the other guy? Once we get away from the mainstream sports, I'm Dubbsie, get him in here. But hey, it's a good time of year for some of these other sports. The Derby's not far off. The golf is always there in the background. And yes, we got a massive tennis tournament coming up this week from Palm Springs. Not quite a grand slam, but just under that, the Sunshine Double getting underway. So good to see you as always.
I wouldn't say you're the other guy. I would say you're the guy.
I like that.
You know what I mean? When there's something else, I'm like, you know what? We gotta go to Dubbsie. And like you said, we've got the BNP Paribas Indian Wells out in Palm Springs. Hopefully you'll get to go out there. There's also a big golf tournament going on this weekend. You got the Arnold Palmer. So let's start with tennis here. Let's just call it Indian Wells, right? Let's not get into the fancy bank name. How does the Indian Wells tournament kind of compare to other tournaments in the United States?
Yeah, it's a ATP 1000, so it's an elevated tournament, if you will, just underneath one of the 4 Grand Slams. And this is a tournament with a lot of history, a lot of prestige. It's going to see the very best players in the world. The top 10 from both sides of the board will be squaring off for this one. Draws coming out late tomorrow, gets underway midweek, and then it'll go for the next 2 weeks. And, tennis betting, you can find a couple of big prices. There's a lot of different ways to jump in and play along. And I feel like we're finally here, Mox. I came on last year. I'm telling you, the changing of the guard is never going to happen. It's all about the big 3, the GOATs. It's Rafa, the Fed Express, the Joker. But suddenly, there's a couple of young faces who are starting to make their claim in the bigger tournaments. Jannik Sinner, who got it done in the Aussie Open. I remember you were big on Jannik Sinner, mainly due to the name there, but 22 years of age, the young Italian stallion, if you will. There's a couple of fresh faces, and I do think some of the older statesmen are starting to move on a little bit, and as bettors, it presents a bit of value and opportunity for us.
So speaking of value and opportunity, we were looking for odds for this tournament. Now, the qualifying rounds, if you will, have already kind of I would say tipped off, served off. I'm not sure what the equivalent is for the tennis community, but have already started. We can't find any odds yet. Right now it's about Monday at 5 p.m. Typically, when do you start to see these odds pop up for these tournaments?
So the draw will come out late Tuesday, and then we should have all the odds for round 1 matchups, futures, and different prop bets coming up. And taking a look at the fields coming into this one, it is the best of the best. A couple of big storylines on the men's side of the draw. This will be the first time that Djokovic comes back to Palm Springs since 2019.
Ooh.
Carlos Alcaraz, he was a big winner here last year. I consider him to be the man to beat and should be very close to the top of the odds board there. And Rafael Nadal, he got back underway playing against Alcaraz in that exhibition match we saw in Sin City. This is the first time we've seen Rafa since Brisbane. A couple of injury concerns, scares, if you will. And I do think this could be the final swan song, the final year for Rafael Nadal, one of the best athletes we've seen over the last 20 years. He'll be trying to get those reps in ahead of the clay season, where he'll be looking to notch up one more Grand Slam before he goes off to enjoy retirement. Can he win 2 more to catch up to the Joker, who's got 24 up top of the list there of the GOATs? I don't think so, but the best chance will be towards the French Open. But again, it is going to be stacked out there in Palm Springs, and that's just on the men's side of the board as well there. For the women's, Naomi Osaka, Venus Williams, a couple of big names join the big threats like Iga Swiatek, who will be up on top with a big threat like Sabalenka, looking to keep up that recent form.
So if you want to see Nadal and his kind of swan song here, make sure you get to this tournament, right? If you're living in the LA area. You mentioned Carlos Alcaraz. He's the one that defeated the Joker in Wimbledon last year, right?
Yeah. Kid's an absolute stud. And, we talk about a changing of the guard, a 2-time slam winner. He's 20 years of age. Jannik Sinner, who's fresh off that Aussie Open, he's only 22 years of age. You throw in a couple other young guys who are still sort of figuring it out on the big stage. But these young guys, they got no fear in them. Carlos Alcaraz, You could argue probably a little disappointed with how the Aussie Open finished up for him, but he's a blend of all three superstars in Rafa, the Fed Express, and the Joker. He does everything at such a high level, and he's got that grit and determination. If he shows up, if he's healthy, he's got a very good chance of going back-to-back on the men's side. And I guess we'll get into a couple of American threats, but a bit of a trend in history here on the women's side that I guess we'll get to once we get on that side of the board.
Well, I'm intrigued, but yeah, so let's talk about the men's first, because you obviously have talked a lot about these guys. There's, again, not a ton of odds out. We did find some just for conversation's sake. Obviously, check with your book before you tail any of these, but the Joker is the favorite. Big surprise here, right? He's at plus 150. Then you got the defending champ and Alcaraz at plus 225. Sinner, my guy, at plus 400, and it kind of goes down from there. What do you think, Dubbsie? Like, who's winning?
It's going to be a really tough one. It's going to be a slog for the 2 weeks. And, when we look at the tennis, it's big to know the surface that we're betting on. Okay. Notorious hard court. We got a couple of hard court specialists coming into this one. The surface plays a little slower. Obviously, the US Open, the Aussie Open, 2 very good comps coming in here. And look, Djokovic getting bounced out there at the Aussie Open. He's going to be coming back into this motivated. He's got the fitness. For Rafael Nadal, I don't think he has the fitness. The ability is still there in spades. He'll get through week 1, but I do think he will tire. This is a surface that's going to reward stamina and fitness, and you've got to move quick around the court. I don't know if Rafa is going to have that first tournament back, so the Joker is going to be a big threat. I think Jannik Sinner could be looking for a bit of a bounce there. I know he's a young fella. He had a win at the Rotterdam 500 as well, so the form is absolutely there. But for me, I'm going to go with the hard court specialist, as he tells us himself, Daniil Medvedev. This is the surface you want the big fella playing on, and he's very vocal. He is going to cop a hard time out there in Palm Springs. He's gone up against umpires, spectators, the fans. He loves playing the villain, but he loves playing on this style of court. 5 titles last year, 4 of them out there on the hard surface. He made it through the final there at the Aussie Open. It wasn't meant to be. He's got the power, he's got the form, and he's still only 28 years of age. A lot of people think he's been around a lot longer than that. The former world number 1, Daniil Medvedev, he is the biggest threat on the men's side for me.
Sounds like the Draymond Green, maybe, of tennis.
There you go. Yeah, it really is.
Ejected.
Plays it so well. Plays it so well.
Suspended indefinitely multiple times. All right, so let's talk about the women's side, because you said there's some interesting kind of American through lines here. You named, obviously, a few of them. So tell me what's going on with the women's side.
Yeah, I guess for the American threats coming into this one, it's been more than 20 years since an American woman has lifted the trophy out there in the desert. On the men's side, we were lucky enough to see the big hit in Taylor Fritz still back in 2022, and he'll be a chance if you're looking for the value. But on the women's side of things, the top of the board, it is loaded. All signs point towards Iga Swiatek will come in here as the top seed. 4 of the last 5 titles that she's won on the WTA have been on the hard court. This is where she absolutely thrives. A winner there in Qatar, made it through to the semifinals in the lead up over in Dubai. I think she's getting ready for another big season. In terms of some of the other big threats that Iga is going to have to get through, depending on the draw, the seeding. I mentioned Naomi Osaka. Very interested to see how Naomi returns and the level that her game is at. A 4-time winner at the Slams. Now a mum, took a bit of time off, has a lot of business and I guess other activities going on off the court, but we know that top gear is absolutely there if Naomi can come in and come into this one fresh. And I think the biggest chance on the side of the board for a bit of a number is Coco Gauff. Yeah. I mean, Coco Gauff is an absolute superstar of an athlete. US Open winner now, made it through to the semis at the Aussie. And I think for Coco, there was a couple of question marks before getting it done at the biggest level of all. Now that she's got that confidence with this athleticism, if she can just be a bit more tactical, I really do think even some of the best players in the world are going to have a very tough time trying to get past Coco.
So Coco, if she gets past Swiatek, could be the first American woman in 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a while between drinks. Venus Williams, I guess a superstar name, will be in the field. Not that she's much of a threat these days, a little past it. In terms of the other big American threats on the women's side, Jessica Pegula, a bit of a hard court specialist, but really struggling to take that step forward, in crunch time going against some of the other best players in the world. But you look at the world ranking sitting in that top 10 with that 5 spot. So for Jessica Pegula, it's going to have to be the right circumstance. It's going to have to be going through to that second week fresh. I guess for the tennis betting, if you can't find value early in week 1, look towards week 2, look towards the heads-up statistics of how certain players have gone against each other in the past to prognosticate what's going to happen coming in to this next match. Know the surface, but also know how many points, how much energy they've exhausted going through week 1. You want to see that they've still got those fresh legs. For Pegula, very hot and cold. I think the ability's there, and it's going to happen sooner or later that she can get the big one. Maybe this is it.
So what are your strategies to betting tennis? And you kind of already hit on this, right? When you're betting tennis, you want to know what type of court it is. And that was one of your big reasons why you're choosing who you like on the men's side. Is that kind of the most important thing going into it to look at? Do you look at the rankings, obviously the matchups, how they've done against a specific person, in the last year, et cetera?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that we've probably already thrown out. Surface specialists, know the differences between playing on grass, clay, and the hard court and what certain players have done in the past. Know the heads-up matchups. Certain skill sets, it's an individual sport where we're playing against one another. Maybe something against my game just doesn't match up well against Katie Mox out there on the hard court, and it's a trend you've got to keep an eye on. And I would sometimes put a bit more weight on that instead of the recent form coming into this one. But we look at some of the lesser events coming in. We just had the guys down there in Mexico, and recent form's always going to be a big thing for us as handicappers coming into this one. And then the situational trends, especially moving through late in week 2, knowing which players have had a tough time getting through some of their opponents, which ones have had a cakewalk. And, we're doing best of 3s out here. Maybe they've just cleaned them up. Best of 2s. The serve's been really on point, because what we see week 1 is usually a pretty strong reflection of how these players will carry themselves at the back end of week 2 as we get towards the finals.
So we've talked about, Americans. Thank you for, hitting that mark with us. We got to talk about the Aussies. We got to talk about your people.
I'm looking for a Mox. I'm looking Aussie. I can't see them. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Ash Barty, can she return it and get back on the WTO? But I guess for us, the big threat is Alex de Minaur coming off that win in Mexico. I mentioned the recent form leading in, second to none for the Demon. He's got sort of that Leighton Hewitt, I'm throwing it back 20 years there, but he has that game on the hard court. He chases down everything. He's got that dog in him. Can tennis players have that dog in them? Mox, can I even say that? He's got that dog in him, the Demon, yes. Alex de Minaur? Okay.
First of all, Serena Williams had that dog in her.
She does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it
she
seems
does.
like the guy that you chose, how do you pronounce his name? Medved?
Daniel Medvedev.
He's got that dog in him, so yeah.
He got that crazy dog in him. Woof, woof, woof. So Alex de Minaur for the Aussie flag, he's going to be our best chance. If he can bring that form from Mexico to Palm Springs, he's now sitting inside the top 10 in the world rankings in terms of where he's going to play best. It's out there on the hard court. Again, this surface rewards your grinders, the players who can get around the court really fast. That's what he does. And 7 of his 8 titles have been out on the hard court. So again, I feel like I keep harping on about that's a very big angle for me coming into this one. But the Demon on the men's side of the board, a bit of a value play, and he is a big name hunter. He can take down some of the best in the world as we move through to the quarters, the semifinals. For him, it's just going to be motivation. Can he continue to keep it up coming off that big win? I think he can. He's always playing hungry.
Okay, I love that. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to do some rapid fire bets, and then we're going to get into golf a little bit with our guy from FanDuel TV, Dubbsie Anderson. We'll be right back. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. Welcome back, everyone, to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Katie Mox here with my guy, Dubbsie of FanDuel TV. You gave us a lot of great analysis. And again, we don't necessarily have odds that are up. So you can explain or not explain as much as you want. If you want to go rapid fire through these, great. If you want to take your time on it, great. So let's start with singles. Best pick for the women's. Is it Swiatek or you?
It's a tough one. Okay, I think Swiatek will be a little too short on the board. We're going to go with Sabalenka, fresh off that win at the Aussie Open, back-to-back wins at the Australian Open, well suited to playing on the hard court. We saw her in this very tournament last year make a bit of a run, but got a little gassed out late as expected. Comes into this one firing, well rested, and I think is one of the best players on the ladies' side of the board. And I think we will get a slightly better price than going against Iga Swiatek. So give me Sabalenka as the top choice on the women's side of the board.
Love that. Now for the men's.
Oh, okay. Daniel Medvedev. This guy loves playing the villain. He loves being the bad guy. He got that dog in him as much as you can have a little woof for a tennis player. I think we'll get a slightly better number there. If we can get double digits on Medvedev, it's an absolute play on for mine. He is the hard court specialist. He does have the big serve, 6'6". He's an absolute monster. And I do think he will thrive off the crowd energy who are likely going to be going after him. So Medvedev as that top choice.
Okay, I love that. Now for a long shot. Are you going with an American woman? First time in 20 years, long shot.
I think history has a chance of coming undone. Coco Gauff is an absolute superstar, one of the best athletes on the planet right now, playing with a bit more maturity, finally got the breakthrough on the biggest stage of them all. I think she's starting to bring that experience and starting to show a couple of more tactics out there on the court, and that's what it's all about for Coco. The ability, second to none. I do think will be the best player moving through the next 5 years in professional tennis. I do think she has the ability to go past Iggy. If we can get a bit of a price, 19-year-old, she's an absolute superstar. Coco to cook them up out there in the desert.
Coco to cook them up. Hopefully there's no serve controversy. I know there was that going on at the U.S. Open last year. Okay, so now let's look at the men's. What's a good long shot that you might look at for the men's?
Taylor Fritz, he's got a good chance of running it back. A winner here in 2022, 6'5". The guy's an absolute mountain, and he comes off. I'm talking about Taylor Fritz, not Dubbsie. I'm only 6'1" on a good day. Comes off that win at Delray Beach. It was only an ATP 250, but that's what you want to see. 7 titles, very comfortable in the big matches. I've been harping on about Taylor Fritz for the last couple of years. He's going to take that next big kick in his career. We haven't quite seen it at the slams. I think he gets a little nervous around some of the big guys in that clutch situation, but he played fantastic here to ice it out back in 2022, and I think he's got a really good shot of bringing that recent form into this one. This is the surface for Taylor, and maybe just feels a little more comfortable playing in California because he's got that Cali swag to him.
All right. Love that. You froze out at the last second, but it came in the nick of time there. So what is your favorite pick or would be when these odds come out for a first round matchup?
A first-round matchup. Oh, I tell you what, I think Naomi Osaka is probably going to get a lot of betting attention. I think the odds makers will have a pretty short, being a 4-time slam winner. I think she gets bounced. I think she gets bounced in week 1. I think she's going to have to get a lot more reps under the belt because some of these other girls have been playing a lot more tennis at a lot higher rate, and they come in hungry. So for Naomi Osaka, I think she gets a couple of tough draws. I'd be very shocked if she makes it out of week 1.
Okay, now for it's tough for her, but she is coming off of firsthand motherhood and stuff, so she's got to warm up to it a little bit. So women's or men's doubles pick?
Oh, okay, a bit of an Aussie connection. Maddie Ebden there, Bapana, who's 43 years of age. He's still been playing some fantastic tennis. So we'll stick on the men's side of things. It's not a surprise. These two are a couple of the best players on the men's side in the doubles there. So let's see if they can run it back to back, get a short price, but with the doubles, tough trying to find a bit of value. So I'll take the chalk.
Take the chalk. Wise words there from Dubbsie. All right, we got to talk golf now. We got the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. And what do you know? Scottie Scheffler is the favorite, plus 650 here on Caesar Sportsbook. Then you got Rory roaring in at number 2, Xander Schauffele. So what are we thinking here? What kind of chalk do you like, and what's a good long shot?
This is a tough golf course. I think Scottie Scheffler's got a really good chance of getting another win here. This is a ballpark where you need that golf IQ, you need that distance off the tee, and it plays like a major. You can't really win it the first couple of days, but you can certainly take yourself out of it. Scottie Scheffler is still contending every single week, and he putts like if you went down the local putt on Saturday afternoon, Mox, not to take aim at your short game, but my guy's doing nothing.
Take aim at it. Take aim at it.
And he's still contending. So Scottie Scheffler from the top of the board, if you're looking for a bit of a value player, it's always getting windy. When it's breezy, swing easy. I think Adam Scott, yes, Aussie again at 60 to 1. And I'll throw a little top 20 play into the mix there. Cameron Young who's one of the big bombers on the PGA Tour. He had 2 top 5s at the majors 2 years ago, and since then he has struggled to find his way into the winner's circle. He's right around even money for a top 20 finish. Cameron Young is going to get the win eventually. His game's well suited to play on the tougher golf courses under pressure. It just hasn't been going in his favor. 13th, 10th here with his first 2 starts. I think he finishes inside the top 20, and he could have a really good chance of getting the first big win in a very big spot out here at the Arnold Palmer.
All right. One other market that Caesars has here is first round leader. Of course, Scottie Scheffler, also the favorite here at plus 1,600. Who do you think has a shot to lead the first round?
Let's go a little Victor Hovland, the smiling Norwegian. The kid is rocks or diamonds. The short game's gotten a lot better, and he's carved up this golf course in the past when he really struggled with his wedge play. The rough around here, it's deep. You need a lot of distance off the tee, and that's what Victor Hovland does. Pretty consistent in terms of showing up and contending at some of these bigger tournaments. So Victor Hovland, fast start. If we get no wind, round 1 low score should be right around 6, 7 under par, but hopefully it kicks into gear there over the weekend, brings a lot of water into play, brings in some really big numbers as well. Round 1 low scores, I'd like to try and target the shorter prices on the board because you're going to get a better number on Victor Hovland for a round 1 low score than you will in that outright market. If you get the favorable draw, can run it lights out and run the tables.
Yeah, he's at plus 2,200, according to our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook. My favorite thing that I think I've ever heard you say is that if it's breezy, swing easy. And that is
you like that.
Then I need to have locked in my own head because for some reason I get frustrated. I start swinging hard no matter where it goes. But talk to me about what's going on with FanDuel TV. We're out of football season right now. Obviously, I know y'all talk NBA. You're going to talk MLB. We have you that are doing the exotic sports, I guess, as we'll have them. You're always talking ponies. But what are we doing on FanDuel TV right now?
We're doing everything. So you can catch your boy 9 to 11, Monday through Friday with good friend Megan Payton. And we jump through everything. Obviously, the horse racing is a big thing for us because it's every single day and you can wager on it early in the day there. Kentucky Derby, first Saturday of May. I know your next question. Your boy's likely going to be out there in Louisville. I'm still waiting for travel plans. But, yeah, it's going to be a big time. Actually, Mox, you should get out there.
I should.
You got to come out for the Derby. And if you're looking for the big threat, it's early days. We're still running a lot of Derby prep races every weekend where you can pick up the points. Timberlake, named after Justin. How heavy is that? Currently sitting as one of the big threats for the first Saturday of May. So we're jumping in the horses. The golf's obviously still a big one for me. I love the tennis betting, a little Premier League, everything in between. But I tell you what, Mox, after football season, it does, nothing moves the needle like the NFL. Yes. We were both out there in Vegas. Yes. Super Bowl was fantastic. Another amazing year-long campaign. So it's a wonderful time. I guess with sports wagering, there's no off season, right?
No.
It brings some other sports into play that maybe you wouldn't have thought about. You've always been having a good run with the hockey plays as well. So let's go.
I agree with you. It's like the football season is the most tiring, I guess you will, because you got other things going on. Like that is the grind. But you're right. It absolutely never stops. And I would love to go out to Kentucky. So
you're invited.
Thank you.
You're invited.
Now that I'm invited, I think I should just go. Are y'all doing any college sports as well? Do you bet like college basketball?
Yeah, obviously going into March Madness is going to be a big one for us. I mean, Caitlin Clark, we were talking about earlier there today. What a fantastic achievement that is. Absolute superstar. Yeah. So the college basketball is great. But I tell you what, Mox, for an Aussie coming across the States, the toughest sports to catch up and go into gear with is the college basketball.
There must
be 5 million schools that you can wager on. Like, come on now, let's get to March. We can just sort of narrow down this playing field a little bit, but nothing like it. Yeah. Nothing like it. The excitement, the fans, the kids, they can get into it. The one thing that blows my mind is you're playing college basketball, right? So you're trying to make it in the NBA, WNBA. You should be good at basketball. They can't make free throws, Mox. They go to the line, and it's a coin flip. Mm-hmm. It's a coin flip. I'm like, how can you be a basketball player and not shoot the basketball? Dubbsie goes down to Venice Beach, and I can nail him from beyond the arc. Go figure. It makes no sense.
You're like Steph Curry out there compared to these college kids. I know. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. None of them can make their free throws. Completely understand. But there's nothing like March Madness. And, like you said, too, 90% of these kids don't go pro, right? So it's kind of the biggest thing of their lives to that point. And there's always the fun Cinderella story and the upsets. And like my favorite was in New Jersey, the Peacocks, like St. Petersburg, I think it was, Peacocks. That run they had a couple years ago was just like electric. So if you want to be up to date on everything sports betting, then you have to tune in with my guy Dubbsie on FanDuel TV. Give us the time again.
9 to 11 West Coast time. And I'll give you one lesson learned, which I'm sure all of you guys and Mox should be aware of this one. You can only wear your college colors. I was going through the airport and I watched Johnny Manziel, so I was wearing Texas A&M. All these people would come up to me like, you're an Aggie? I'm like, what are you talking about? I like the burgundy and I like A&M. If you don't go to school, you can't rep those colors. I learned that one pretty fast.
Well, especially if you happen to be in Texas wearing that, I'm sure a lot
Australian.
of people.
It sends people. Can't figure it out.
Yes. Just be like, yes. And then they're like, move on.
True.
Probably easier that way. Dubbsie, you can follow him on X, Twitter, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, social media, at Mr. Dubbsie. And it's Dubbsie because he's Andrew Anderson, got the double A, right? That's
Did you figure that out, Mox, or did I tell you that? Did I give you the inside scoop?
I think you told me a few years ago. And then when I was just saying your name at the top of the show, I was like, there's the...
I've tried to keep that under wraps for like the last 10 years, and now here it is. It's out there on Moxie Bets for the whole world to hear. But yes, Mr. Dubbsie, Mr. W Money. I've tried to really push that one. But, we need some plus money monsters coming across.
On that note, we are going to close out this show. Dubbsie, always a pleasure. Thank you for keeping us locked in on tennis and on golf, a little bit of the ponies. I'm going to be rooting for Mr. Timberlake. Hopefully he brings sexy back this season on the track. And, you're always bringing sexy back on FanDuel TV, on X, at Mr. Dubbsie. And we'll see you soon. Thanks.